All right, here we go. OverDrive, off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app. Your home smart speaker and up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, the Dog, Jeff O'Neill, and there he is, Jason Strudwick, back with us on time at 4 o'clock. Internet, who dis? New internet, who dis? Good to see you, Strud.
Yeah, upgraded internet, right? We got rid of the dial-up, so pretty exciting times here in the Strudwick household.
That's great. That's
I'll
great
tell
stuff.
you what, the guy who you're replacing yesterday said that John Tortorella, he's a part of management, and I wouldn't be shocked to see him sign a long-term deal.
No.
Yeah,
did he
that
say
one.
he did?
Oh,
Poor Noodles,
tough take.
man. Tough take yesterday. Noodles was adamant that Torts is baked into the cake there, right?
Hey, a lot of other people thought it too.
Absolutely.
Like,
I think we had Dregs on. Pierre LeBrun's coming up later this afternoon. That, I think, was the general belief throughout the hockey world that John Tortorella the plan was for him to be there long term and help the transition from this kind of rebuild into whatever next stage it was. And then when he came out after the Leaf game, after they got pumped, and now you look back on the quotes,
dude,
he basically quit. He basically quit.
Yeah. When you say I don't have an interest in coaching I don't have an interest in coaching a team that's at this level, that is basically you're firing yourself. Because you can't walk back into the locker room because you walk in and everyone's like, "Oh, what? You're too good to coach us." But I don't want to kick Torts in the junk on the way out the door, but did it ever fit? They had a good run last year, and then they totally collapsed. But other than that, as soon as it was he got there and then Philly was in rebuild mode, I'm like, well, that doesn't work. Torts is there.
It never made sense.
It never
sense.
really did. I never saw Torts, as good a coach as he is, and his track record speaks for itself. I just could never piece it together where I'm like, Torts is associated with working with young guys and dealing with the Mitchkoffs and Tippett's and other young players. I'm like, I don't know how this is going to work. I don't see the connection.
No, I don't either. I mean, we said this yesterday. We've been saying it for years. Said it yesterday before he got fired. This is not in reaction to him either being fired or him stepping down. And I am curious exactly what happened here because the Flyers announced it as if they relieved him of his duties, which very well could have happened. But it may have been the Pat Burns back in the day, I'm leaving a note on the plane, get me out of here type situation. I wouldn't be surprised if Tortorella was...
Well, you got to be careful with that as far as you still got paychecks coming in 4 sheets next year.
That's valid too. I mean, that and maybe, I don't know, maybe it was just simply Philly and the owner and management slept on it and said, we can't have this guy around. But it was never going to work. They're not going to be better next year. I can't imagine they're going to be better. I think that's a part of the problem too, is Tortorella is realizing that. It's one thing, you jump in on a tank rebuild, you're hoping it takes a year and a half, 2 years. It might take 5 years. It might take 6, 7 years.
Oh, yeah.
And why would a guy of that stature have a stomach for that? It's not surprising he's not there anymore. I can't say I thought he'd be fired this morning, but that's the end of the road for John Tortorella.
You talk about the timeline, guys. You watched that game the other night and watched them over the last 3 weeks. What's to say that they're going to be any different and possibly, if they don't completely change out their goal and get somebody in there that can make a save, they could be garbage next year. Absolutely terrible. And I don't know what kind of coach, as good as coaches who wants to be you got to have some hope at the end of the tunnel. Do you go in there saying, oh, once that Michkov turns the corner, we're going to be into the promised land? I don't think so, man.
It's tough. It's a tough spot. I look at Phoenix and Utah, right? So I have Andre Tournier. I thought when he was going in there, he's a placeholder till his team starts turning the corner. And that's generally what we see. There's some bad years, someone's grinding it out, then they're, okay, we're going to get rid of you, and then we're going to bring in someone we think is going to be the fresh voice of the starting, we're winning now. But when I look at Philly, they've got some nice pieces there, but I'm not sure how they all fit together yet. It feels incomplete. So any coach looking at this isn't 1 year. I think it's a couple of years, 3 years before they're.
You know what it looks like to me, Struddy? They could be on a path to where Detroit is, where they draft some Detroit drafted Sider and Larkin and Raymond, and it's what has that gotten them a few years later? Just missing the playoffs. It's like that. If that's your rebuild and kind of turnaround, Like, do you expect those guys to turn Detroit into cup contenders next year? I don't.
No, that's not the skeleton of a cup contending team.
No, it's not. Like, do you see, like, as much as I like Raymond, who's their number one centerman? Is it Ray? No, it's not.
It'd be
Larkin.
Larkin's
Larkin
playing number one.
As much as I like Larkin, like, is a team led by that? If that guy's your number one centerman, I love the player, but I don't know how much of a chance to win you have. Like, you need some elite talent, and I just don't know where it's coming from for both teams.
Yeah, it's a very good question. And listen, in Detroit, they're turning things over. Like, they brought in Todd McClellan because he's supposed to get them over the top. You know, and that's just the nature of coaches. Like, you get labeled. You're either a closer or an opener or a lifer. You know, maybe you are a lifer. Maybe you're a guy that is there for transition. Like,
maybe you're both. John Cooper's both.
John Cooper can be both. Yeah. They're trying that with Mike Sullivan in Pittsburgh, right? They're trying it. Stick around for a decade. We're going to have some ups and downs here. But Tortorella is he's a catch and release coach. And there's nothing wrong with that. He's had an unbelievable career. Yeah. But he's a guy you throw in when your team's underperforming that you think is better than the way they're playing. He gets the most out of them for like 2 or 3 years. And then everyone's like, I can't listen to this guy anymore. You got to get rid of him. Yeah. And in Philly, they just never had the start because they when he got there, they were terrible. And they're young. And it never made any sense. And I think this will be a blessing in disguise for both sides. Like, if you're in Philly, you can't listen to Tort's woe is me stuff, which I take a little bit of issue with because he's Mr. Professionalism, Mr. You got to do it. This is the NHL. Do it my way or the highway. And he comes out after a bad loss and is, I don't want to go through this, or I don't think I can do this anymore. Like that I'm curious how that plays the next time he gets another coaching job.
Those were disappointing. Those are disappointing comments. I don't see him coaching again unless he gets a heater team offer where it's like, you know, there's a massive disappointment with a loaded roster. And he's like,
I'm with you because I'm seeing people in Buffalo that are like, go get Torts. I'm like, why? Why would he want to go to Buffalo? It's the same story.
You insane?
Yeah, and like they're not pushing Lindy Ruff out right now, but why would Tortorella? And even conversely, the other side, there's connections now to Rick Tocchet because he's got an opt-out after this year.
Dude,
and his connection to Philly. Why would Rick Tocchet want to go to Philly, though?
No kidding.
Why would he want to coach that team?
Dude, that is fan craziness. I've heard fans over the last couple days, they're like, this is from Vancouver, like Vancouver Twitter. We should get Bo Horvat back. And it's just like, what the hell you want Bo Horvat back for? He just went to the island. He's been gone for a couple years, and you're looking for a centerman. And what, you got tunnel vision into Bo Horvat as the guy to get things back on track? Why him?
The glory days of Bo Horvat. The reason they traded him
is it Bo Horvat?
Well, I don't have an answer for you.
But Philadelphia Flyers are like, nah, I smell Tocchet around the corner. Ricky Tocchet used to play with the Flyers. It's like, do you think Rick Tocchet, as much as he's a Flyer and a Flyer legend, just says, oh, yeah, I'm dying to get back to that roster in Philly? I don't know about that, man.
He's got to look at both rosters. Which one is better for him? And, you know, maybe does he want to get back to Philly? I'm not sure. Maybe that's something. But when you look at both teams, you know, I don't think either team is perfect. But I think Vancouver is at least further down. They have more things in place than we see in Philly right now.
Absolutely. I mean, just go watch Quinn Hughes. And last night was a big win. Demko, when he's healthy, is a game changer in net.
Dude, he was unreal last night.
Absolutely. And, like, now they've picked up a couple of wins here going through New York. And, you know, St. Louis, the percentages of the Blues getting in are still very high, and they have been red hot, and they haven't lost in a long, long time. They've won 7 in a row. But Vancouver is lurking. You know, Vancouver is still, they're in the hunt. They're only a few points back. They got a game in hand on St. Louis, so they're still in it. And it's, if Demko is healthy and playing like that, they got a shot. And if Quinn Hughes is doing what he's been doing, he's got a shot. And, you know, we'll see what ends up happening there. But if I'm comparing and contrasting, outside of a lifestyle thing, if it is Rick Tocchet's got some connection and wants to be on the East Coast, again, this is all speculation. Rick Tocchet's not going to answer this, and I don't think anyone has this answer right now anyway. But if it's comparing and contrasting the teams, I'm still taking the Canucks. As big of a circus as it's been in Vancouver, if you can get Pettersson playing where he's supposed to play, if Demko's healthy and you got Quinn Hughes, Philly can't even come close to matching that. Like, that's a number one center, number one D, number one goalie. They don't have any of those. Like, to that level.
Though. Like, what are everyone's like saying, oh, well, just wait for next year for Pettersson to come around.
Wow.
What the hell says next year dropping the puck that he's just going to return to the guy? So what, he's just allowed to take 14 months off and just be like, I just disappeared there for a while. Like, I hate using the term back in my, you were almost out of the game. out of the game, and everyone's like, just be patient with this guy.
Don't have a choice. Got 7 years left on his deal.
Dude,
Strud.
no kidding. But what's the mini Jerry Hayes on Pettersson showing up and being a 100-point player next year?
In Vancouver, 10%.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's 10%.
He never seems to get on track, right? Since last Christmas last year, right? Where we're talking half the year last year, we're talking the playoffs, invisible.
Struds, I was his biggest supporter too. Like, I love the guy. I was like, this guy looks like a little Gretzky out there. Like,
the way he shoots.
He's quick and like
I love the way
shifty.
he shoots.
Oh yeah, and I was like, it just fell off the map, man.
And he's not there at all. So if I'm looking at Vancouver, I'm a coach. I love Hughes, and I'm hoping Demko can be healthy. And then Pettersson is a complete wild card. I have no idea what he's going to be. And then every coach probably thinks he can unlock this guy, but I'm not sure what you have to unlock. Like, what's there to unlock or build back up? I don't know. I'm not in that room, but that's the challenge, that player.
It sure is. And he's not a kid. He's been in the league for a long time. He's got a ton of security, ton of money. As of July 1st, a full no movement clause, full no trade. I don't think it's a guarantee he's in Vancouver next year. Like, if they miss the playoffs, I think that opens the door for them to do anything with Pettersson.
But you trade away two of your top centers in 6 months. Like, just think where they were last year in the playoffs.
I know that.
I remember thinking, man, this team is going to be hard. They're going to be a Pacific Division, staple. And then now you're thinking, well, they could have both of them gone. What is Quinn Hughes thinking? He's looking around thinking, who is my number 2 center? Who's my number 1 center?
Yeah. That's it. You don't have a 1 or a 2. It's like Philip Heedle's your number 1 center at that point if he's healthy, and he rarely is these days. So, listen, a lot up in the air out there, and we'll head down to Philly later in the hour and kind of get more update on what happened here. Did Tortorella basically talk his way out of Philly? What happens with Tortorella in the future? The Habs are in Philly tonight. I don't think it's a good sign for the Habs because now the Flyers might be so far gone in such a mess that it doesn't matter what happened, but there's a chance for a new coach bump tonight. Like, there's a chance. Mitchkov's going to play 23 minutes or whatever. Like, with Tortorella out, the message will be play the kids, play them a ton, give them an opportunity, be light on them.
Oh, it's a raw fest now.
Absolutely. And if you're in Montreal, you're thinking, could you not have fired him on Friday? Like, let us sneak into Philly, get 2 points, and get out of there, and then fire Torts and let everyone start to play again. Because it's a big game in Montreal. You've got Ottawa and Detroit tonight. So the wild cards, they're significant. The Leafs are in San Jose. We'll get to that coming up. And your neck of the woods, Strud, I mean, I don't know what to make of it. Where I thought, Edmonton I didn't see the whole game last night, but to their credit, they really pushed late. They significantly outshot Dallas. But Skinner, really struggled. Then he takes the Rantanen and knee to the head, and he leaves the game. And now the story is, like, what's up with Skinner? Should you go to Pickard anyway? Which I sense a lot of people in Edmonton are kind of suggesting. Strud, I'm curious where you stand on that. But man, that was a tough one last night because the team battled and they were in it, but I didn't think Skinner gave much of a shot when he was healthy and playing.
It was the game the Oilers could have won. I think of the 4 goals of winning, specifically the third. I think the third goal. I think it was Robertson's second. To me, that was a goal that he wants to stop. It's 2-on-1, and he shoots at 5-hole. As a teamman, I'm like, you got to help me out there. The other ones, I'm not too worried about. The challenge for Skinner is he's had a bit of a rough stretch here the last while, and there's been some that don't like his whole year, but there's been some good times. But the last little while has been a little bit rough for him. And then we factor in the hit last night. Now, I think
Strud,
this was
like,
what do you
make about all of this? We've seen it in Toronto with Marchand hitting Liljegren, I think, in the knee. You've seen it in Buffalo. How they all talk about it after the game about a lack of response. Like, I got to be honest, seeing Rantanen go in front of the net, I don't think Rantanen tried to hit Skinner's head.
Not a chance.
No.
Not a chance. Skinner
so that
is
begs
outside.
the question, is it just one of those things where it doesn't matter what his intention was, he's got to pay somehow? Like, is that the nature of the beast?
So what happened, if for those that didn't see it, Skinner was outside of the crease, and he falls forward. Rantanen's in the white paint. And he skates through and, accidentally clips him in with his knee in the head. Now, I hope Skinner's going to be, but look how far he's outside the blue paint. Are we now going to ask skaters to stay outside of the white paint?
Yeah,
like, where are they allowed to
Don't
go?
ask Dregs and Noodles. They say that's illegal, and there should be a 5-game suspension.
No, well, Noodles thinks that the whole end zone should be blue, so no one can come close to him. But listen, That's and so
end zone.
We slow it down. So you slow it down. So it looks, he had a lot of time to jump out of the way. In full speed, regulation speed, it's hard to get out of that way. So I think it's accidental. Now, later in the game, Sam Steele runs into Pickard. In that situation, it's prison rules. Now, it was a power play, so I probably would have been out there. But if I was, I'm right away. I'm jumping. I'm not face washing him like Walmedad or rubbing his back. I'm grabbing that guy and I'm throwing bombs at him. And I'm saying, okay, we gave you a free one. That's second time intentional. And Steele could have gone a different way. He didn't have to choose that path to the net. So I think there, even though it's a lesser hit, because I believe that intentional, now you just let him. And they're really not doing anything. Howie got a penalty there. I don't know. It's
I know,
crazy,
it's
but
absurd, man.
I think we have to understand the difference between accidental contact and intentional. And Rantanen was incidental. Steele was intentional. And because it's the second one, then you just get after the guy. And yeah, you might lose your power play, but you've got to protect your goalies. They got to know you got their backs.
Yeah, and Corey Perry was on the ice for the Rantanen one, and nothing really happened to Rantanen. Do we have the audio of Perry after the game? This is Corey Perry on, I guess, his reflection of the moment.
No, I was pissed at myself. I didn't see what happened. That's I was on the ice and when Rantanen hit Skinner, and that's on me. I should never let that happen. I didn't see what happened. I saw Stu go down and everybody was standing around. I didn't see it until afterwards, and I was pretty pissed at myself that I didn't see it.
And fair enough, but at the same time, to a degree, it's everybody's responsibility. Do you think you've done a good enough job of this as a group this season when it comes to your goalies?
We'll talk about that internally.
Rashog is asking the question because he knew the answer was no.
Shagar loves it. He wants to be a brawl every time someone even looks at your goalie and warm up. And I get Corey Perry is a very old school guy, and I understand what he's trying to say there. But if no one really sees what happens, how are you supposed to jump in there? And I remember situations where that happens, where you're kind of on the ice, playing the puck, and all of a sudden something happens off, and you turn around, and there's one guy laying on the ground, and everyone's kind of looking around like, what the hell happened? You're not sure. So I think in that moment it's hard. But even afterwards, you can't go ask Mikko Rantanen, hey, you got to fight me because you're manager goalie. He's like, no, I don't want to fight you. And it's over. So that's why the second time it happens, you then send the message that it doesn't matter. This player doesn't have a choice.
Right. And that's it's kind of strange, Perry saying he's pissed at himself, but then also admitting he didn't see it. So what are you supposed to do? Like, if you didn't see it.
No, he said, I can never let that happen.
I can't ever let that happen. But
if you didn't see it, what the hell can you do?
It can't be everywhere.
No,
exactly. It can't be everywhere. And I like
it's a bit too harsh on himself, I would say.
He is. And now I bet you the next time somebody even shoots a puck too hard at their goalie, they're going to jump the guy. There's going to be something happen. Maybe that helps.
I just don't know what's wrong, Struddy. As much as I like responses, I like tough hockey, I like finishing your checks, it's okay to say, you know what, next game he better keep his head up because we'll be coming after him. That's all you got to say instead of, we're such a bunch of weasels and gutless losers because we didn't. No, just take a number. You know who it was. It was 96 White. I don't even think you should do anything because I think it was an accident. He did it by accident. So it's like you should tell your goalie to smarten up. Like, it just all this stuff just seems to get blown out of proportions. You want to go fight the guy next game, go ahead. But you don't have to put yourself down after saying, I didn't see that properly. I can't let that happen. It's nonsense.
Well, I wonder, is it a part of what he's doing there? It's kind of savvy. It's almost what you would expect a coach to do, is let's focus on the injury. Let's focus on Skinner not being, he didn't step up for Stuart Skinner, as opposed to when he was playing, it was a mess, and he's got a sub 900 save percentage, and the whole market's turning on him. Like, is there an element of that where it's almost premeditated? Like, I got to come out and be a hero and I got to put a shield up for Skinner because you're in the market. You can tell me better than obviously I would know Strud. But everything I read, everything I see online is like Oiler fans are like, we can't play this guy anymore. Like, he's killing us here. His numbers are staggering. They're awful, Strud. Like, the numbers are really, really ugly for Skinner. It's almost a miracle they're in the position they're in with the goaltending they've been getting. Like, you get a starter that's got sub 900 and you're still in a position to maybe win the division. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think I was reading something the last little while here. He I think 15, 16 games he hasn't had a save percentage except twice over 900 a game. That's pretty tough.
That's staggering, man.
That's pretty hard. So, for him, I advocated for him to have a bit of a time off to kind of get his game back in with a goalie coach. Pickett's been, he's been fighting. He's given him everything he can as a backup, a low-paid backup. So it's been pretty good for him. But Skinner just can't get on. He doesn't seem to be able to get on that role. So I'm wondering what's going to happen now when he's out. He didn't travel with the team to Seattle. They're calling up an emergency backup. And so is that a good thing for him that he's not going to play for a bit, or does he need to play to get his game in order? I'm not sure. I know as a player, I'd rather just keep playing. As a goalie, it might be different. I know Noodles would know. I mean, what the best thing is for a goalie.
Right. Well, Noodles is calling a game tonight. I'm sure we'll get that answer from him tomorrow. But yeah, it'll be interesting because he's your number one guy. He's played in 49 games, and Pickard. It's not like Pickard's some 22-year-old kid on the
right.
Coming up where you're like, I know he's the future, so maybe he can take it and run with it. I'm not sure how confident people are going to be with Pickard. But Darren Pang coming up just after 5. Panger's a former goalie. We'll get his take on this. And, the protection of the crease and what you expect from your players and your teammates. It's opening day down at the Rogers Center. It's not going well for the Jays. 5-0 Orioles. Yeah, the Orioles are pumping the Jays, and Barrios is getting pumped. Not the best start. There's a couple things I want to ask you guys in relation to opening day, comparing and contrasting to the NHL. Because I saw something, ceremonial first pitch, calling the names out. And I'd be curious how it would work in the NHL if someone from the game ops asked you to do what was asked of a player today. Okay, so we'll get to that a little bit later on. Panger's coming up. Pierre LeBrun still to come. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jason Strudwick. We've got Darren Pang still to come. Leafs in San Jose tonight. We'll get to that. It's opening day in baseball, and the Blue Jays are at home for the first time in a long time. And I noticed something. Kevin Kurz threw out the ceremonial first pitch. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, he did his little dance around with his 2 outfielders, Springer and Varsho.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to ask you, because Varsho's on the IL, so he's not playing. And he got in full uniform to run out and, get the name called out, and runs out there up the third baseline. And then he's behind the plate for the ceremonial first pitch. How would that go over if the Hurricanes, let's say you were hurt opening night 1999 season.
Can I clarify one thing first?
Yeah.
He signed with the Jays this season?
Who? Varsho?
No, Kiermaier.
No, Kiermaier's working for the team. He's
yeah,
retired.
I was going to say, he's like a coach.
Yeah, he's done. Because remember, last year they were like, you got to go. And then he ended up in L.A.
Won a World Series.
He won a World Series. He didn't play a lot, but he was with them. He's like a special advisor now, so he's working within the organization.
Yeah. Okay, to answer your question, if I'm injured, I'm telling somebody from team ops, game ops, I'm not putting my gear on and going out there and then coming in and taking my gear off. I'm not a part of the team right now. When I'm a part of the team, I'll put my gear on and go out there.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a baseball thing. Everyone gets out and gets your cheer even though you're not playing, but do they need to be in uniform to do that?
No. I wouldn't even be around. I'd be like, treatment, whatever I got to do to kind of rehab this and move forward, I'll do. But after that, goodbye.
Yeah, exactly. Strud, would you be cool with throwing on the old Islanders gear or the Canucks gear or whatever and going out for a twirl?
It's tough.
And then taking your gear off immediately, or what?
At the first game of the year, they introduced the guys, but you're standing in your street clothes on the bench, right? So it would be better to be in your street clothes on the bench and then walk off and kind of scurry away because you're embarrassed you're not playing, or standing on the ice in your gear and then scurrying off. I think I'd rather be in my suit, at least try to look, half decent, and then get the boot, say, you weren't good enough today, buddy. Get back there.
I agree.
Dude, it's a hard no. Hayes, you see me in a work environment when something stupid comes across our desk. It's just a hard no.
Yeah, it's got to be.
No.
Gotta be.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm like, they always say, like coaches back in the day would say, you're injured and you're actually officially not a part of the team.
Yeah.
You come in. Yeah. Like, remember the day, Strud, where it was like, come in early, get your stuff done, get your therapy, get your workout, and get lost before the regulars come in.
Lonely. That's lonely. It's so lonely.
Yeah, that seems so unnecessary. Like
it's crazy.
It is. And I would always stick around because I wanted to see the guys and hang out and have a laugh and do whatever. But there were some teams, it might be like Keenan type eras, but Like, come in, get you're not a part of the team. Nobody wants to see you around. Because there was some guys, like Poopy Pants, with bad attitudes that they would literally suck the life out of everybody. And you can't have that. You can't have it around.
Yeah, it is kind of depressing to see the guy that's been injured forever and he's not really getting better and he's not going to play.
And if he's pissy about it, it's like, please just get lost.
He's always on the medical table, and you're like, there's other guys here that are actually playing right now. Can you do this at a different time? I feel like John Tortorella would be a injured guys not around type coach.
Possibly.
I could see that old school type of mentality where if you're injured, you're not playing, you're not around the guys. Well, he's not going to be around the guys tonight either because the Flyers are playing. They got the Habs in town. And it feels like Toronto, that was the end of the road for John Tortorella. You know, watching it play out the way it played out, and then what he had to say after the game. And then this morning he was relieved of his duties. Here's Kevin Kurz of The Athletic covering the Flyers down in Philly. I'm curious, Kevin, your thoughts on the timeline here. And when you heard Tortorella say what he said after the game in Toronto the other night, was your radar going off that could be the end of the road for him in Philly?
Honestly, no, because, I was standing there when he said it. It didn't even register right away. And I think when you type the quote out and then you look at it in print or on Twitter or wherever you see it, it comes off a lot harsher than if you actually watch it. I'm not drawing a line directly from those comments to him getting fired today. But, you could tell he was really downcast. And he was, the fact that he's coaching a team that's not going to make the playoffs was wearing on him. So I think he would, if he could do it again, he'd probably pick his words differently. But I doubt that Danny Briere, and we haven't spoken with Danny yet. It's about a half hour away. I would doubt that that's Danny just read that on Twitter or whatever and said to himself, "Oh well, we can't have him around anymore." I mean, maybe that was the case, but I have a hard time thinking it was just that.
Kevin, it was a factor, and I said it yesterday. You can tell me if it was a part of the equation or you believe it to be. Like, watching Philadelphia play, no one is playing well. I know it's a depleted roster, but they've got, just no one is playing well. And that's got to be what somebody's seeing up above saying, I got to make a move here. To have no one playing well is alarming.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Now, the last two games are going to be, I think, what everyone is looking at. And those were maybe the worst two games they played all season, giving up 7 goals to a lousy Blackhawks team and then 7 to obviously a pretty good Maple Leafs team. That's the end of a 5-game trip. It was almost, how do I put this? I mean, it's not a good team right now. I think everyone realizes that, and I think John Tortorella realizes that. And they weren't playing well on top of having a depleted roster from the trade deadline. Briere deals away 3 top 9 forwards in the span of 6 weeks on a team that wasn't very talented to begin with. And then there was the emotional aspect of it. Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee were 2 pretty well-liked guys, and then Scott Laughton was frankly the emotional heartbeat of this team. I mean, I think that's become that we knew that before he was dealt, and we definitely know it now considering some of the results. So it was just a confluence of a lot of events. But you're right. I think you look at a few of the younger guys that have maybe not progressed like they would have liked. Owen Tippett would be on that list. Cam York would probably be on that list. But on the other hand, you've got guys like Jamie Drysdale, who's really settled in, looks like a different player from October, Noah Cates. So it's been a little bit of mixed results with the younger players. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to hear what Danny says, just because I didn't expect this. I was surprised it happened now. I obviously, I figured there was a chance it was going to happen at the end of the year because he has just 1 year left. But why they do it with 9 games left is, at least in the moment, it's still a little bit of a mystery.
Kevin, what is the legacy? Although it's not 10 years with the franchise, but what did he leave? Did he leave it better than he found it? Tortorella, that is.
Yeah, it sounds like a cop out, but it's just a little too early to say, right? I mean, they brought in John Tortorella, and for the 2 years that he reported to Daniel Briere, the Stanley Cup was never the goal. Frankly, the playoffs weren't even the goal, right? They surprised last year. It's only a year ago people were talking about John Tortorella for the Jack Adams, right? Because he had this team in the mix for a playoff spot. But he made some mistakes over the course of that final month. You know, a team doesn't choke away a playoff spot like that without some coach having some of the responsibility. And I actually wonder if Briere maybe saw some red flags that we don't know about that maybe worried him that Tortorella was going to make some further mistakes here from here on out, considering that he, you know, was pretty dejected having to coach a team that was just going to play out the string. So, you know, if this group of young players learns some of the things that, or you know, take some lessons away from the standard he was trying to set, the culture he was trying to set, and they go on to further success, I mean, he will have played a role in that. But, you know, on the other hand, if they go the other way, if you're Danny Briere, you're probably going to be wondering, well, maybe this wasn't a good match in the first place. So I think it still has to play out a little bit. But, you know, at the same time, Briere shoulders some of the responsibility here, too. The teams had the worst save percentage in the league for each of the last 2 years. Yeah. You know, there's not much a head coach can do about the goalie, right? And what's the old saying, you know, show me a bad coach, I'll show you a bad goalie. Well, these guys haven't had reliable goaltending since Carter Hart left in January. That's something that I think is on the general manager. And, you know, obviously this year it's just been all about removing pieces, right? It was, as I said, 3 top 9 forwards they took out of the lineup over the course of the last 6 weeks. I mean, I'm not sure any coach was going to be able to, you know, remain in the hunt with this team. But, you know, clearly they have to be better than they were the last 2 games. But it wasn't even that long ago that they were hanging in. You know, they were still working hard. It was, I think, March 1st, they beat the Winnipeg Jets in a shootout. And it wasn't even out of the realm of possibility that they were going to kind of hang in for a little while. But some further trades before March 7th sort of, you know, I think led them on the path that they're on now.
Chatting with Kevin Kurz of The Athletic, covers the Flyers. John Tortorella fired this morning. You mentioned Scott Laughton and the role he played in that room in Philly. I'm sure you're aware of his struggles up here in Toronto. He still has not recorded a point. Even the game the other night, I think all but 2 forwards didn't, you know, or all but 2 forwards did record points the other night, and he was one of the 2 that didn't. I'm not sure if you caught up with him at all when you were in Toronto, but what do you make of this kind of difficult transition, and do you have faith that Laughton will figure this out come playoff time?
I do think he will figure it out. I was on with another Toronto network, I forget which one, and or it might have even been you guys too. And the question was, you know, what's going to tell you that Scott Laughton is on his game? And to me, you guys, I don't know if you've probably seen him, right? He's not an overly big guy, right? He's you know, he's got some decent size, but he's certainly not huge. When he plays bigger, when he looks like a bigger guy on the ice, when he's running around, winning board battles, throwing hits, getting in the front of the net, getting in the dirty areas, you know, he's effective when he plays bigger than his size. So I wonder if that just hasn't happened yet. You know, maybe he's just not comfortable doing that yet. I don't know. It's surprising to me that it's been that much of a struggle for him. Obviously, you guys know he's from up there, so maybe he's feeling a little bit extra pressure. Spent 12 years in Philadelphia, right? When you switch organizations, it can take some time. But I would be surprised if he doesn't have some sort of impact for that team come playoff time. I would just say be a little bit more patient and let him settle in a little bit, because I think he's the kind of guy that when the playoffs come around, he's going to be a player that you want in your lineup.
Yeah, that's what people are looking forward to. I know it's a busy time down there. We appreciate you finding some for us. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, no problem. Take care, guys.
Kevin Kurz of The Athletic. I mean, luckily, again, for Laughton, he's not expected to come here and be a heavy lifter. I mean,
I don't understand how he said that comment with a straight face. You just have to show a little patience up there, and things will turn.
Well, it's not been a great start, but he does. He's got this year and next on his deal, and ultimately, any move you're going to make at the deadline, it's going to pay off in the playoffs. Like that's if Laughton shows up now, he's got to be in the lineup come playoff time, and that's on him to stay in the lineup and keep performing. Like he's got to be better than this, clearly, but. You know, he's on the 3rd or 4th line. I guess Berube, you know, was asked about the status of Pacioretty and whether or not he feels confident that Pacioretty will be available come playoff time, and he said he does. You know, I think. I don't remember the exact quote, but I'm
pretty confident Pacioretty will be.
Yeah, and he said kind of with a smirk. That makes me kind of wonder if this was always the plan, kind of a load management thing. You know, get him up to the 4 Nations and then shut him down for a month and a half and let him just protect his body and be ready. Anyway. If that's the case and he's going to play, that's one more guy that is going to be in the lineup that Laughton's fighting with. And I think, Lorentz is going to play. And if Domi's going to be up the middle of the ice, and, Berube loves this Pontus Holmberg. Like, it would have crushed him to take him out of the lineup the other night. Like, he loves Pontus Holmberg. So Laughton's got to find his role. There's no disputing that. But if he does and he performs in the playoffs, no one's going to care about his first 8 to 10 games as a
Like, if you
Leaf.
think about a third line with Scott Laughton, I still think he should be playing third line center, but he's got to get his game better. He'll tell you himself that he's. I've watched him a lot his whole career. It's like you watch him and you're like, man, the guy's fast. He gets on pucks. He can create a goal. He can score. He hasn't brought any of it, and he would if he's honest with himself, he would tell you that it's got to. Like, people are like, be patient. His game's got a long way to go. He has not been good.
No.
And that's the problem. You can't just say, you'll get to game 83 and find it. You got to start trending in that way. And as a player, when you're not feeling it, it's a challenge because you don't just, I wake up and feel it. It's like all of a sudden you had a couple good periods, like, okay, things are better, and it's slowly
He's just not
goes.
moving out there, Strud. Like, he's lost his confidence, and he's lost kind of what he's supposed to be doing because he's always just standing still.
He looks tentative. It looks like he's trying to think, what should I do? What do you want me to do? I'll tell you what I want to do. I want you to skate and hit people. Just do that for a game, and then maybe something comes, you unlock something else afterwards.
That's probably the exact message that needs to be sent, and maybe it has been. But
I'm sure it has.
Just go out
sure.
and skate and hit and go to the net, and then whatever happens, happens. If you miss an
100%.
assignment, so be it. If you're somehow you miss, you're supposed to be the F3 and up high or whatever, although you should be able to do that too. I mean, the guy's been in the league for a long time. You can't be completely reckless.
Yeah, you know it.
But, make sure that just find your confidence. Find your game, find your confidence, because they're committed to him. I mean, they brought him in. He is a local guy, and there's an element of that, I'm sure. This is pretty overwhelming. He's been in Philly for a long, long time, and you're coming home, and he's a Leaf fan, and he loves the Leafs, and there's a lot that comes with that. There's no,
dude, he's
no
an old
disputing
school
that.
guy. He would be the first player to say when if somebody came on board, he'd be like, "Okay, your vacation's over officially."
Yeah,
like the overwhelming stuff and moving and family and your buddies are in Philly, it's over.
And you played them now. It's over on that front too, right?
Like, that's a big one.
Yeah, big one.
That's
you check that off. They're done. It's over. You're not going to see them anymore. And listen, it would be more concerning, I guess, from a deadline review standpoint if Carlo didn't fit in as well as he's been fitting in. And that's the more important piece. Laughton is a bonus. Laughton, they I think, thought could be depth on the third line. Maybe he's on the fourth line. Carlo is a guy that's going to play 20 minutes in the playoffs.
Isn't it amazing how Carlo and Tanev have been so effective by doing so little? Like, if you look at the busy bee defensemen that they've had buzzing around out there doing absolutely nothing, and furthermore causing problems in their own end because they're so out of position, those two guys, simple, out of the zone, off the boards, out, quick outlet passes, put out fires, and away you go. God, that's amazing.
Yeah. Funny how that can work, right?
Oh,
funny
God.
how effective that can be. Simplify things, but you got to have faith in yourself, and you got to be able to, I guess, follow through on that, right, Strud? Like keep that pulse down.
But that's the beauty of being a D-man like that, is that you have to understand that you are out there to calm things down, because everyone's looking around, their heads are on fire, and you just go out there and you just calm things down. Understand what your job is. Shut down any kind of cycles. Put guys in the wall, get pucks back.
That's it.
Quickly
Put out fires. Put out fires.
Move it up. And then you don't have to be fancy. And I think that what's happening now with like Instagram and social media is that everyone wants the Quinn Hughes moment where they dangle through everyone. And those are great moments. There's a handful of players that can do that in the world at the highest levels. But what these guys, what you're talking about them, just a quick puck movement, getting on your zone, is so valued by coaches because they know exactly what they're getting out of you every shift.
Yeah.
And that's what they want. They want predictability from you. Doesn't mean unskilled. It means predictable and trusting. And that's why those guys are out there so much.
Yeah.
Struddy, and I know you were a guy that put out fires. You played physical. But before we go to break, if you can take us back to the Spengler Cup, did you have any Quinn Hughes type moments with the puck?
Jeez. I should really get the VCRs out one day, and I'll bring the VHS and show you. I mean, Pat Quinn was my biggest
we got to
cheerleader.
do it one day. We got to do some of your shifts. We'll do breakdowns of your shifts at the Spengler Cup.
Just flying around that big ice. It's the thing of beauty. Was it figure skating or hockey? I don't know. I know it was art, though. It was definitely art.
It was art. It was poetic. It was poetry on ice. It's such a beautiful thing. Struddy at the Spengler. Was Pat Quinn the head coach?
Pat was. Yeah, we had
Quinn
Pat Quinn
coached at the Spengler Cup?
Yeah, so
What?
he wasn't coaching, and he came in, and he only knew two, like myself, and then I can't remember the other guy whose name, and so he'd always call, Struddy, you're up. Yep, sounds good, and I just go out all the time because he didn't know anybody else's name.
Right.
And like, this is amazing.
That is a perfect setup.
I can't imagine him over there not knowing anybody's name.
He didn't know. Like, it was such a short term, and he'd walk up in the morning, and your name plates are above. And he'd walk up and look at you, then look up and like, hey, whatever. Not Don McKelly, have a good game for us today. Like, he had no idea. But it's a short tournament.
I don't know if you're aware of this. Pat was in Edmonton. He went in full 3-piece suit. He always used to wear these gorgeous suits.
I was there.
And he was getting dialed in for the games, and
Yes.
people were like, he was trying to give a pregame speech, and someone said the game's tomorrow.
Oh yeah,
Game's tomorrow.
He's like, yeah, he gave us a 10-minute about going over. We have a huge game today. We got to play practice. We have a practice today, game tomorrow. Well, let's have a good practice, boys. And we all went out there, and he still had his suit, not his jacket on, but his like dress shirt on underneath his tracksuit. Like, I could tell you 1,000 Pat Quinn stories.
Oh
he
my
was,
God.
he was yelling at. He'd yell at the refs the whole time. Like, if you going around in warm up or before the game, and the ref come by, like, is Pat in a good mood? I'm like, he's not. We've been losing. He's like, oh God. And then just give it to him. Offside, too many men, icing. I'm like, oh my God. Unbelievable, this guy.
Wow, I can't believe I'm just learning that. That you were in Edmonton with Pat Quinn, and then you're at the Spengler with Pat Quinn.
Did you have 2 stints at Edmonton, Strud? Or
No, just one. He came. Remember, he coached the World Junior, and then he came over after.
Right.
And
were you at the end of the line in Edmonton, or was that kind of near?
No,
the
I
end
was at the end. Yeah, I was at the end. So, but we had Craig McTavish was there for my first year. Then Pat, and yeah, Pat was a treasure. He's a national treasure. Like he
is, man.
He would tell us, he'd go in there and yelling, you got to play hockey like Bobby Clark. We'd play hockey battle. And I sat beside this guy, Lubomir Wisnowski, really skilled D-man. Yeah. And Luby looks over, he's like, Struddy, who is the Bobby Clark? I'm like, he used to break Russians' ankles. He's like, oh, that's not good. I'm like, no, it wasn't good. And like, they had no idea who he was talking about. No idea.
Got to play like Bobby Clark.
Oh, it's crazy.
Get out there and play like Bobby Clark. Some 19-year-old from Moscow is like, who is that guy? I don't know.
Dude,
who the hell
nothing
that is.
beats the Olympics, man. When he put in Luongo over Brodeur, and this is how he did it. Right before walking out, he goes, "Luigi, you're in net." Not Roberto or Luongo. He called him Luigi. Luigi, you're in net.
Luigi, you're in net.
Oh, God.
Struddy,
Oh,
you're
man,
out
I
at
wish
the
I was a
Spengler.
fly on the wall when he said, Luigi, you're in.
Was he yelling at the refs at the Spengler Cup too? Like, did he bring the same kind of attitude to the Spengler, or was it more relaxed for him?
I remember, but to be honest, I was on the ice so much, I don't know what was going on. Like, I was out there a ton. I even thought I was getting played too much. Like, this is crazy.
Right.
My dad's like, why is he playing too much? Isn't he trying to win? Like, yeah, I think
Exactly.
so.
Just maybe blend in a couple of other shifts here. Strudwick's out there way too
Bagged.
much.
Absolutely
Way too
bagged.
much. Oh, that's amazing. Look at you two. Both in the Pat Quinn coaching tree, the two of you.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. All right, Darren Pang in about 20 minutes. We got Pierre LeBrun still to come later this afternoon as well. Leafs in San Jose. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, I did confirm yesterday that Al's brother is currently cruising somewhere. So I guess we're tipping people off that he's not actually at the location he's supposed to be with Leaf tickets. He's just giving clues about this place. But Al's brother on his second cruise of 2025. Very comfortable in that cruise line, man. He loves it. And Al's brother, is supposed to be hiding somewhere in the city with a pair of Leaf tickets. You have to guess where he's hiding. Your chance to win them. Are you guys ready for the fourth and final clue of the week?
Go nuts.
Hey, Overdrive fans, it's Thursday, and I'm back with your final clue of the week to try and find out where Al's brother's been hiding at all week long. You're getting yourself a pair of Leafs and Panthers tickets if you can figure it out. And here is your final clue. Some of the greatest Leaf players of all time have been immortalized at this location.
All right. We know where it is now. And when you hear the cue to call tomorrow, the first caller through with the correct location wins a pair of tickets. Leafs Panthers, April 2nd. Find Al's brother, brought to you by McAlpine Ford in Aurora. Our family, the Ford family, and you. Full details at tsn1050.ca. Those are big tickets, A, because of the significance of the game, but also Brad Marchand will be playing in that game, right? He's likely to make his debut tomorrow night in Utah, which means Brad Marchand in Toronto as a Florida Panther.
Crazy.
That's coming up in less than a week.
By the
That's
way,
gonna be
where is
wild.
this guy? Was he at the Hockey Hall of Fame?
He's at, I think it's Legends Row is where he happens to be.
Oh.
But yeah,
Legends.
Legends Row. A lot of legends in this city.
How many captain's dinners do you think he's attending on his cruise? I get the sense he loves that.
He is
Ship captain.
Dude, he is the captain.
Yeah, he's so comfortable. He's so comfortable on these cruises.
But Struddy, we were saying yesterday, he probably gets kicked in the junk on the tables. That's the only reason him and his dad keep getting invited back.
Sure. Right.
Yeah, they're
Because when you get rinsed, they're like, we'd love to have you back. Everything's covered.
always
Yeah.
very
Makes sense.
liberal with the freebies and got to get you back. And the
Oh, yeah.
hospitality is top notch. Meanwhile, if you clean the house out, they'll kick you off the cruise.
Never allowed back.
Yeah, but if you're dumping money in, hey,
Actually, they
anytime.
do want you back because they want some of the
They want
cash
it to.
back.
They
Yeah,
want
yeah.
you to put it back in there. That's true.
The odds. Yeah.
That's valid.
Wow. And a free captain's dinner.
Absolutely. All right, hour 2 coming up. Darren Pang will join us. We'll keep teeing up the Leaf game tonight as well. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.